This is Deborah Pardes on Voices of Swell. It is August 2021, and how wonderful to be speaking with Nithya, Shanti. And I say how wonderful because I'm a good student. I watched several TED Talks, but the latest one of Nithya's that I really loved had a moment when he asked us to say how wonderful when things happen in our lives. And how wonderful to be speaking with you today here on Swell. You are in India, I am in Los Angeles, and many of us around the globe have a chance to just hang in this space and discuss life with you. I want to thank you, first of all, for doing the work you do, or actually, it's probably not work, it's you are a seeker and you're in service, and you are a teacher, you're a Buddhist monk, you're a surfer, you're so many things. I'm going to not continue that list because we blow our minds every day by discovering who we are. And sometimes when people box us, we're like, you missed this or you misinterpreted this. So I'd rather not do labels because in the spirit of being expansive, let's just stay expansive. So this is an audio experience. I don't see you. You don't see me. We have a chance to really drop into our voices, to do some deep listening, and to figure out with each other the sort of path we're on right now. I know people assume that interviews are kind of this ping pong back and forth, but I'd like to be a little more of an experiment today. I'd like to invite people to watch your TED Talks. I'm going to link one of my favorites here so they can indulge for hours in some of the great work you do. But in this audio space, let's have some fun. So I am going to give 3 words to you, and if you can reply to them separately, that will be wonderful. So sort of separate thoughts, and then let's play from there. So the first sort of word, or now it's a phrase, the first word I want to just ping pong to you is physical pain. Okay, that's the first one. I'd love you to talk about physical pain and our relationship to it. The second word is news. News. What do we do with the news? How do we process the news? Is it important? Where does it live in us? News. N-E-W-S. News. The third word, ego. E-G-O. Ego. Thanks. Looking forward to all these responses and to continue this with you.
Deborah, what a wonderful opportunity to listen to you, and what a interesting format this is. My first time on Swell. Lovely to be here, and thank you for the warm welcome and for the really interesting questions you've asked me. So let's just get right into it. You asked me to respond to these 3 phrases or words: physical pain, and the news, and you talked about, what is the third one? I'll look it up. Let's start with physical pain. So physical pain is an invitation for the body is requiring our attention. Something is requiring our attention. And because we tend to be so distracted, like Woody Allen said, most of us live 3.5 feet away from our bodies. We're living in our head. So physical pain is sometimes what it takes for us to really get present, that something needs our attention. And physical pain is not a good thing or a bad thing. It just is what it is. We sometimes think pain is bad. But actually, I came across a neurological disorder where people don't feel pain at all. And that's actually very dangerous. These people actually have a really hard time living when they don't feel any pain at all. They can't tell the temperature of the shower water. They can't tell if they've cut themselves. They can't tell if they need to urinate. So life is incredibly difficult for people who have this neurological condition. We say, what a gift to not have pain, but actually pain is required at some level in order just to survive. So what I like to say about physical pain is, can we allow ourselves to experience the experience? If that's what the body is wanting, it's wanting attention. So can we give it attention? There's a nice practice called CORE. CORE stands for Center of Remaining Energy. Look at this as, because our body is not just physical, it's also an energy system. So look at this as a kind of blocked energy and experience that pain as a pulsing, vibrating experience of energy. And can I take away the word physical? Can I take away the word pain? And can I just be with that experience? Scientists find that pain is one of the hardest things to objectively measure because it's so different for every single one of us. So whatever it is, without saying this is unbearable or whatever, just come to that experience. And just be present with it, just breathe with it. And try to find the center of it. Normally we want to go away from the pain, but now we've come to the very center of it. And if you can be with it even for a few seconds, even for a few moments, something starts to shift. Because it's not really the pain, it's our resistance to the pain that really is our suffering. Suffering is any experience multiplied by resistance. So this is what I like to say about physical pain, that pain is an opportunity for us to be attentive and giving it our full attention. And they say the way out is through, by allowing yourself to, and I've had this experience many times when I was meditating, just allowing myself to really experience things fully. Fully feeling what we are feeling is very healing. And pain is always bearable. Suffering is unbearable. Suffering is the extra stuff we add to it. Suffering is the imagination. They actually interviewed people who'd been tortured, and they asked them what was the worst part. And they all said the same thing. The worst part was not what happened. The worst part was thinking, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? That imagination is what really was the worst part of that. So this is the first part of my response around physical pain. Interesting question. And by being able to embrace the full variance of our human experience, by embracing the pain and the joy, that's how we have a full human life. So great. Let's go on to the second question, which is about news, NEWS. And there's one interesting feature about this, that if we suddenly had the ability to know not just what's happening in our city, in our country, in our world, let's just expand that a little bit more, that now you suddenly have the ability to know what's going on in the entire solar system, in the entire galaxy, in the entire universe. So definitely there is some part of this universe where there is a calamity happening. Maybe some planet is colliding with another planet. Maybe one race is taking over another race, right? So let me actually just pause this recording and get on to the next one, because I think 5 minutes are up here. Right, let's continue with this discussion of the news. So just hypothetically, that you now not only have the news for your city and for your country and for your planet, you have the news for the whole galaxy, the whole universe. And as we know with news, that the way the news works is they want to get your attention. And we're programmed biologically that our attention will go more towards the danger than towards going right. In fact, I was at a conference once, and there was a neuroscientist who said that it's not our fault that we end up thinking negative and we can't get out of those negative loops. Because when we were walking in the forest thousands of years back, we were not appreciating the flowers. We were looking out for danger. And when we were having a meal, evolution was not favoring those who said, I'm so grateful for this wonderful meal. Evolution was favoring those who were wondering, while they were eating, I wonder if I'll get food next time. So worrying about it. So we've almost been, for survival, worrying works better for survival. But worrying doesn't work for thriving, right? What got us here won't take us there. So the reason the news focuses so much on the negative is because the positive doesn't sell as much. It's as simple as that. I heard about an experiment that the Washington Post did, where on the same day they came out with 2 newspapers, and one talked about a peace conference, a major peace conference in the city, where delegates from around the world had come. And the same day they had another edition which talked about a ghastly murder that had happened. So you can imagine which copy sold out first. So we have this pain body, individual and collective pain body, and we resonate with those kinds of things. We're drawn to that kind of information. So the news is It's one way of looking at the world. One of my friends who's a journalist would say that if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. Every newspaper has an agenda. I had a friend who was a senior professor of journalism in Pakistan, and he said he would read at least 10 newspapers from around the world. He said after reading 10, he has some semblance of what's going on. If you read one, there's just no hope. Because every single news channel, news media, they have their own slant on things. So the way I function with this is that I like to focus on what I call the local universe. The local universe is what I'm seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. This is my local universe. And in my local universe, like if I see a rapper, if I'm walking the street, I see a rapper on the ground, I say, people are so, this city, no one is tidy. They just throw stuff in the streets. People are so careless. What bad citizens. Instead of complaining, if it's in my experience, it's my responsibility. So I pick up that wrapper and I throw it away. And maybe one person saw me throw it away. Who knows? And that says, oh, I live in a city where people pick up stuff and throw it away. It starts creating a ripple of change. Am I here to be part of the problem or here to be part of the solution? There's a nice teaching by Stephen Covey about the difference between your sphere of concern and your sphere of influence. Circle of concern, we may be concerned about a lot of things. I may be really concerned about the Taliban in Afghanistan, but what's my circle of influence? Can I really make an impact over there? So let's focus. Either you expand your circle of influence and go ahead, be influential enough to go ahead and make a difference. And if you cannot, then you're worrying about it and having sleepless nights about it. It's not going to help anybody. So you act on your circle of influence, right? And so for me, the news is an opportunity for us the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. This is a nice teaching from Hawaii called Ho'oponopono. The outer world perfectly mirrors my inner world. And I heal my inner world by taking full responsibility. Responsibility, my ability to respond to what's happening. And so whatever happens, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. I'm sorry for what? I'm sorry for my beliefs. I'm sorry for my perceptions. I'm sorry for what I'm assuming, what I'm believing. Please forgive me, this is obviously not helping. This is making me feel contracted. I love you and I thank you. That's a beautiful teaching from Hawaii. So about the news, one of my teachers would, whenever he saw a newspaper article and he saw someone was suffering, he would contact his friends and say, hey, can we help this person? And he'd do something about it instead of just reading it and feeling bad about things. And that's an example of expanding your circle of influence. All right, so that was about the news. And the whole idea is that don't let your circle of concern be so much bigger than your circle of influence. If you start worrying about what's happening on different planets, different galaxies, you will never have a single moment of rest in your life. Focus on your local universe. And when you take care of yourself, in a way you are like the caretaker of your local universe. You take care of your local universe. Right? There's a difference between care and concern. Care is an experience plus love. And concern is an experience plus fear. So we want to shift from fear to love. And so for that, we want to shift from, the narrative of the mass media. Like, for example, right now, we're sharing all of these things. Chances are this will not come in the front page of a newspaper. But if we start talking about very ghastly things, very, divisive things, if I say some really, controversial things, it'll immediately come in the front page of the paper. So that shows you right away how the bulk of what's happening in the world is not accurately reported by the news. Let's come to your third topic, which is about the ego. And EGO, my favorite definition of that is edging God out. Ego, edging God out. God, for me, is not an entity. God is the intelligence of the universe. I call it the grand overall design, GOD, grand overall design, the underlying intelligence that animates everything. It's not different from the laws of physics, but all the laws, not just physics and chemistry and biology, all possible laws, that which governs, the intelligence that governs everything. So when we shift from the grand overall design and say, no, I'll take it from here. I'm in charge. When the reality is that we have some 50 trillion cells in our body. We don't even know how one of them properly works. We're not even in charge of one of them. Like right now as I'm answering your questions, do I really know what neurons are firing in my brain? Is it left hemisphere, right hemisphere? Is it prefrontal cortex? Am I really aware of these things? These things are just happening. And somehow my tongue is moving and these articulations are happening, these words are getting formed. And hopefully they have some meaning and hopefully they can shift something in your life and maybe not. But I'm not really in control of this. It's happening by itself. So the whole idea of ego is when we assume that we are separate. In a very simple way, ego is believing your thoughts. When you're believing your thoughts, you're in the world of the ego. When you're witnessing your thoughts, you're in the world of presence. And the whole shift is a shift from personality to presence. That doesn't mean that ego has no place. There's nothing in this universe that's meaningless. So ego does have its place. I like to compare it to a fruit, like let's say a mango tree or an apple tree. The apples and the mangoes have to ripen. Only when they ripen, they naturally fall off the tree. So to prematurely try to pluck off our ego and transcend our ego actually leads to dysfunction. So we need to have a healthy sense of self before we can transcend it. And how do we have a healthy sense of self? Self-acceptance. Self-awareness. Gratitude. Acknowledging our abilities. Seeking forgiveness for our mistakes and our faults. So all of these ways in which, for me primarily, the 4 Brahma Viharas, the Buddha talks about loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy in the happiness of others, and equanimity of mind, balance of mind. These 4 are the healthiest states of emotional well-being. And they are the boundless states. There's no limit to how much we can develop and expand ourselves into loving kindness and compassion and appreciative joy and equanimity of mind, balance of mind. And with this, we have a healthy ego. And that healthy ego naturally goes on into a shift from personality view to process view. We see ourselves less as an individual that's separate from the world, and we see ourselves just as an expression. It's a spontaneous expression of the grand overall design. We become the mouthpiece for the void. Like right now, just pay careful attention as you are listening to this. Can you see your own face? Chances are you can't see your own face. You can only imagine your own face. So here I am, I can't see my face. I am speaking from the void and you're listening to the void. This is God speaking to God. Right. Are my answers too long? I wonder. So, yes, these are some perspectives on pain and on the news and on the ego. and I am grateful to you, Deborah, for inviting me and for hosting me here and to be introduced to this amazing community. Thank you and looking forward to hearing back from you. Be well and take care.
Nithya, it's 5:18 in the morning in Los Angeles, and I woke up because I've been navigating a very bad headache the last 24 hours. So if you think about my questions, they were filtered through me, through my experience at the time that I introduced them to this conversation. So listening to your answers was so helpful, really, really helpful. I felt like in this dark space in my room, I was able to close my eyes and really drop in to what you were saying and the wisdom, and I let it wash over me, and it was beautiful, really beautiful. And it leads me to another question, which is about integration. It's about application. It's about being the student of wisdom when it comes towards you like a gift. When you're in the presence of wisdom and you're absorbing it, what comes to mind for me is how can I integrate some of the most beautiful teachings we come across in life when we come across something as salient and as clear as some of the things you just said. How do I integrate them to impact and activate my life? I would love to hear from you about this very present question in my mind.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you for your response. And I'm feeling really connected to this is a new form of engaging, and I enjoy how we're taking time to listen to each other. And it reminds me of a time when I was interviewed. No, rather, I was giving a talk actually, but it was in a different language. The audience was a different language audience, and so it was being translated. And I noticed how, because I had to pause each time, because I was being translated, it made me really clarify my thinking so much more, as opposed to it just being in one continuous flow. So that's the sense I'm getting now as I'm responding to you. The sense of the ability to just pause. And of course, we can even pause in a live conversation, but usually there's too much excitement, and one doesn't want to have those gaps. So with this, I'm enjoying this ability to pause and take my time in 5-minute segments to share my thoughts. So, about integration, what came to me as I listened to you is, could it be that the real priority is not integration? Because notice how, in a subtle way, integration has an assumption of, I want to make this mine. This wisdom, this knowledge, this wonderful perspective or way of looking at life, living life. I want to make it mine. I want to be in that. Which is not bad per se, but there's still a sense of there's something missing in me and I want to integrate that into me. And what came to me is, listening to you, is perhaps the first step is not integration, it is actually disintegration. Would you be willing to die to this sense that you are incomplete? Like, how can you assume you're not integrated already? The fact that you heard me say things that perhaps some of the things you may have never heard before, those may have been new perceptions for you. And yet a part of you said, that's meaningful, that's helpful. Even so early in the morning with a headache, that's meaningful, that's helpful. Could it be that it's not as alien as it appears? The fact that a part of you immediately had an affinity to it, could it be that it's already yours? So what if the priority is not integration, it is disintegration of the idea? Whatever idea you have of yourself being incomplete in some way. Just let that soak in for a moment. So who are you without the story that you need to integrate this? Which implies, give me a way, give me a method, give me a process, and then I'll apply myself and I'll be dedicated, even though secretly I know that I'm very bad at being dedicated. I'm not talking about you, but generally that happens, that we get excited about things and then there is a sense of, oh, I love that, but then I'm not disciplined enough and I didn't do it. And I like to go about it in a different way. That what if it's not true? That there is a lag of time between having an affinity for something and then, as though you now have to do something to get. No, maybe you have to undo, not do. Maybe it's a process of disintegration, not a process of integration. Could that be a possibility? And then, of course, the question will be, then how do you disintegrate? How do you disintegrate? Maybe you're disintegrating already and you have to just allow it. Could it be that your headache is part of the disintegration? Could it be that this confusion is part of the disintegration? And instead of resisting it and somehow bolstering yourself so that it doesn't invade your sense of self or security, you actually open to it. There's a nice book by John Kabat-Zinn called Full Catastrophe Living. What a great title, Full Catastrophe. What's it like to have the full catastrophe? Like Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche says, the bad news is that we're all falling with nothing to hold on to. Like, we got no parachute, right? We're falling with nothing to hold on to. That's the bad news. The good news is that there's no ground. The bad news is we are falling. The good news is there's no ground. And that's what I mean by disintegrating, undoing.
Your your laughter is so contagious, and I appreciate that. I wanted to say that first before I respond. I have to tell you a story. I was at an outdoor theater in Berkeley, California. It was September 13th, 2001. 9/11 just happened. Thich Nhat Hanh was speaking, and Sharon Stone, the great actor, was introducing him. But she was really laborious in her introduction. She was really serious and taking these great breaths and these great pauses and just really lay it on thick. And we were all in the audience going, okay, enough. Like, let's get on to Thich Nhat Hanh. And at one point, in one of her pauses, Thich Nhat Hanh sneezed. And he giggled out loud after he sneezed because it was such a huge sneeze and it was so disruptive. And the whole audience burst into laughter, and we needed to laugh with him because of the timing, because of how we were just sort of like, oh, Sharon, come on, move on. Anyway, you just reminded me of the giggle after talking about, maybe we're disintegrating and maybe we don't even know how to disintegrate because we don't need to know, because it's a process of unbecoming. As the day we're born, we're becoming something else, and we're unbecoming the thing that we thought we were becoming. It's a big, beautiful, infinite loop. And I think that Jon Kabat-Zinn book has such a great title. You're right. And I welcome kind of disrupting that thinking of having and holding and gaining knowledge and applying it, and that rigor. That is just, the word rigor itself is not a great word, because it implies this tensing up to be good at something and to be perfect and to get it. And when I hear voices that have knowledge, my first instinct is, I got to remember that. I got to understand that. Let me do that. But I also have a great love for play, because in playfulness comes a lightness and comes the letting go of expectations, because you're just in this free fall, as you say. You're falling into this great sense of buoyancy, spiritual buoyancy. So I love your response, and I love your invitation for me to just not pack it all in, but to just let it all out. And I feel released. My headache's better, by the way. Thank you for acknowledging it. What is your relationship to desire for achievement? Because you're someone who is notable. We know you're out in the world. You're putting yourself out there. You're a brand. How do you control that in your own personal life? That idea, of wanting to achieve and to be the best that you can be in the field that you're in, or in the vocation that you're in. I don't know what you'd call the work you do, but I'd love for you to discuss the idea of drive and where it fits into the balance of things for you personally, and how you sort of walk that tightrope of wanting to reach a certain level, but also knowing that that's all a mirage as well. Like what is it? What is success? What is achievement? What's your relationship to this conversation personally?
This discussion about pain is absolutely profound. It's about paying attention to yourself. Thank you. I had this pain in my knee, and I actually laid down and thought about the knee, concentrated on it while I was listening to just the reflection on pain. I think I have to take them one at a time. And I felt like I was in the midst of sort of a meditation process while I was listening to that. Gosh, I think I have to listen to it again. That was really, really very enlightening. And the absence of not feeling pain, the thought of what that would be like. Thanks. I'm okay with pain. And it's not suffering. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mealy, for sharing your reflection on how you found that meditative to focus on your knee. And truly, just having gentle attention, spacious attention, and I love the word including everything in your experience. What ends up happening is we fixate, and that creates more resistance. And just to include the knee, and also include your whole body, and also include the space around you. And as you keep including, and we find that it just comes into perspective. And it is a part of the experience. It is not the only thing in our experience. And that's what allows us. In fact, some of my teachers, they even went for dental surgery and they refused anesthesia. And the doctors was like, but we're going to be drilling into your mouth. And they said, no, it's all right. And they actually, in full consciousness, allowed dental surgery to happen with no anesthesia. And the doctors were in awe. And we asked our teachers, how did you do that? And they said, no, I just expanded. I didn't limit myself to my mouth. I just expanded to my whole body, expanded to the whole room, expanded to the whole world. And now this is just a small part of what's happening. So there are many skillful ways in which we can have a healthier relationship with discomfort. And maybe that's something that in the modern conveniences of our life, we have somehow lost that. And in some way we've lost our resilience and the richness which comes with that resilience. But we can relearn it, starting with this discussion right here. Thank you at Mealy. I'm not sure what your name is, but thank you so much for your reflection. And back to you, Deborah. So, yeah, enjoying this conversation, and I must say that you have have you been a radio jockey or something? You've got such nice radio jockey-ish voice. You could be maybe you only are a voiceover artist or something. I don't know. I didn't look at your background. But you have such a clear voice. So, about achievement and things like that, a few ways to look at it. One is the 4 levels of consciousness: victim, empowered, surrendered, and awakened. At the victim level, we are focusing on what we don't want, and the reason it's called victim is we are feeling like a victim to others, a victim to the world, a victim even to our own patterns. And whenever we think like that, I don't want, and resistance, maximum resistance is equal to most disempowered and disconnected from our own inner resources. So that would be the lowest level of consciousness. And the next one would be empowered. Empowered is when we focus on what we really want, what I really want to achieve. And so this is a place where we have goals and we work towards them, and in modern terminology, we hustle and we make things happen. And it's great, and we achieve amazing things. However, once we've played this game for a while, we start to say that, hey, I've done a lot, I've achieved a lot, I've been pretty busy, but did it really give me the fulfillment that it promised? And if not, then we start asking a deeper question. Do I even know what I want? Or I'd say it another way, is what I want really what I want, or is it something that has been conditioned into me? So for example, Deborah, you and I imagine we're the product of the so-called modern education system. And so I imagine we've lived urban lives, and so we've been surrounded by a certain culture, westernized culture, even though I've kind of grown up in India, westernized culture, right? So there's some conditioning there. And is it true that my wants and your wants are genuinely our wants, or are they coming from the conditioning and the imprints from around us? So that's when we come to the 3rd level of consciousness. It's called surrendered. And the sense of, let thy will be done, not mine. And by thy, we mean the larger intelligence of life. By this time, you start recognizing that it's more about you aligning to the larger intelligence, harmonizing with the larger intelligence of life. What they call the Tao. It's spelled as T-A-O, Tao, but it's pronounced as Tao. The Tao, the way things are, to align with that. to harmonize with that. And then things get more and more effortless. You see, at level 2, at Empowered, we ask ourselves, what's essential? What's essential? And at level 3, we ask ourselves, how can we make it effortless? And we make it effortless by getting out of our own way and not taking things so seriously and shifting from expectation, which is a desire held tight, to intention, which is a desire held lightly. Because the process is as important as the goal. In fact, that the process could be the goal itself, which is what Taoism is about. The word Tao means the way. And the way, what is the purpose of the way? The way itself is its own purpose. Like my teacher used to say, we practice. I asked him, why do we practice? And my teacher said, we practice to practice. We practice for the sake of practice. So the 4th level of consciousness then is awakened. And awakened is where even the dichotomy of me and I, that also disappears. A simpler way of saying this would be, at the 1st level of consciousness, things are happening by me. The first one, things are happening to me, that's victim. And things are happening by me, that's empowered. And things are happening through me, would be surrendered. And it's all me. It's all me. All of this is just me. That's only reflections of me. There's only one essence is awakened. You're awake within the dream. So I would look at achievement through this lens, and at each level of consciousness, what achievement means and how sticky it is and how heavy it is. It changes each time. And one more perspective I'd like to bring in on this, which I find very helpful, is there's a very profound philosophical system in India called Trika, which is more widely known as Kashmir Shaivism. And Trika means that this universe has these 3 elements. And it's called Shiva, Shakti and Nara. So Shiva is that which knows, it's consciousness. Shakti is the dynamic form of that consciousness. It is the expression of consciousness. It is, you could call it the play of consciousness. You could call it the manifest world. And Nara is a sense of individuated self. So all phenomena can be broken up into these aspects. So for example, in this moment, there is someone who is the hearer, and then there is the heard, the sound which you're hearing, and then there's the hearing itself, right? So there is the seer, the seen, and the seeing. So Shiva, Shakti, Nara. So there is consciousness, there is energy, or the play of consciousness, and then there is the individual sense of self, which is like the child. So I hope this is not getting too philosophical, but I find this a very powerful way of understanding achievement, because when you look at it like this, then it's actually quite experiential. That right now there is someone that is noticing these thoughts and these words, forming expression, seeing a few things and hearing a few things. That which knows is a mystery. Who is this thing that knows? It's not Nithya. It's not just a name. It's something really profound. It's something unknown. It's a big mystery. It's not based on my history or my conditioning. It's a mystery. There's a mystery right in the middle of my experience. And then there's experience itself, which is forever new and forever creative and playful and in infinite variations. And then there's a sense of self, my individuated sense of self. And the idea here is all 3 are valid. And all 3 are one. All 3 are valid, which means my human impulses to, whatever you want to call it, achieve or get better at something or be even better known for something, it's valid, it's fine, right? To have good self-esteem and self-worth and to be acknowledged, and it's great. And a part of me also sees that as, yeah, that'll go through cycles. There'll be time when I put a lot of effort and it may not be recognized. Or I put a very little effort and it's massively recognized, right? And so not taking it personally in that way. And seeing all of this as a dance of creation. So if I can summarize this, it would be no change. So right now I'm speaking, so my voice is coming and going. That's change. And then know the knowing of change. There's something that's knowing this. There's change, there's something that's knowing this. And know that they're not separate. The knower, the known, and the knowing are not separate. It's made of one essence. To even get a tiny glimpse of this is a taste of awakening. This is to be awake within the dream. In what appears to be a universe of infinite variety, an infinite number of beings, and infinite perspectives, and infinite priorities, and infinite friction, in that you find one essence. Nothing ever happened. At one level, nothing ever happened. All of these beautiful swell app and wonderful conversations and meaningful insights, they're coming from nowhere, and they'll return to nothing, arising from and returning to. Bracketed by a sense of, oh, I'm speaking, you're speaking, it's a meaningful conversation. Bracketed by that. It's all valid. It's all valid, and at the same time, it has no foundation. And in that way, we can play this game of life. We can play this game of life full on, without creating any karma, because there's no sense of self. There's no sense of separate self that's doing this. It's a happening.
Talk about the pause. I am pausing here to sort of shake my head a little bit and think about when I first started this conversation with you. I titled it Infinite Moment with you. And you speak so beautifully about the infinity of things and the wholeness of things. And it just seems so apropos now. It's so beautiful to relax into your philosophy about achievement. And I use the word relax literally. I'm sort of lying on a couch with my head propped in my hand like the thinker. But I'm feeling more than I'm thinking, which is wonderful. I'm going to invite Kate to join us. She's a beautiful member of Swell. She has a sort of a practice called Contagious Vulnerability. I think you'll enjoy her. And let's just keep on expanding this conversation as far as it can go, and it will loop back just like that beautiful infinity sign does. So I also want to take a moment to thank you for your time and your love infused into this conversation. It's really, really beautiful.
Hi, thank you so much for the invite, Kate. Honor to everybody who's spoken on this Swell. This is a very, very powerful conversation. And when I heard the explanation of what ego was, I immediately realized how many dimensions that are interpreted by each individual. And what I mean by that is I believe that everybody has their own interpretation of our reality and our own experiences. So my experience with ego is totally different. I have a different angle on what ego is. I believe that ego is a part of you that needs to be expressed, and it also has energies that are constantly being expressed through your personality and through spirituality as well as physicality. And when it comes to pain is my master teacher. Pain has awakened me to new levels of consciousness. Pain has taught me so much. I've arrived at spaces in my life in which I could solve problems that I've never solved before because of pain. I believe that pain are the universe's pinches for the spirit, for the spirit self. And the universe wakes us up, pinches us awake with pain. I've had shingles. I've had epididymitis. I've had plantar fasciitis. I've had a magnesium deficiency and depression. I've had a broken heart. And I've had grief. All of these things have awakened me to a new level. And I realized that without pain, I wouldn't be me. So I embrace pain, and I look forward to more pain. Call me the crazy guy. But I guess I am the wild child of Swell, and I just swing for the fences when it comes to wisdom. Wisdom is powerful. This conversation is very powerful, and I embrace the wisdom of each and every one of you guys, and I love to be in the presence of people that are expanded. And I thank you so much for this invite, and would love to hear more from you guys, especially in with this level of wisdom. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thanks.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Infinite. Really enjoying all your messages and just taking them in. And there were many things that were shared. And one thing I want to, which really stayed with me, is when Kate mentioned about, in my own words, I'm going to paraphrase, the sense of looking at our own experience as big data. That, of course, everything we do in the world at some level is being tracked online as well as in the physical world. And they're getting insight into us. The big companies get insight into us by looking at all of this individual as well as collective behavior. And I loved Kate's take on our own experience. And actually is big data, right? They talk about how at any given moment there are billions of bits of information, of which our conscious mind is selecting a thin little slice of a few thousand bits of information to process. How rich is this moment? How much of this moment am I not taking in, consciously, unconsciously? So this has really been a very meaningful analogy for me. And there's a course I'm offering in about a week's time. It's about getting in touch with our pain body. There's a nice phrase that Eckhart Tolle uses. The parts of ourselves that we have either rejected or we've suppressed or we've not expressed. It's the unfelt pain. It's the unprocessed grief, trauma, all of that. And it's an individual pain body as well as a collective pain body. And like Infinite was saying, that it's pain is not automatically bad. In fact, pain is a master teacher. It really is. But are we willing to listen to the master teacher? So, to me, like right now, as we are listening to this, whether we are at home or in office or in a car, or whether we are listening to it at 1x speed or 2x speed, to just tune in to the parts of this moment's experience that we may be tuning out of, that we may not even be open to. What's it like to take in more, even what seems irrelevant? At a sensory level, at a sensation level, at a cognitive level. What's it like to invite in the mysterious, the unknown, the unseen, even what seems to be useless, meaningless? What's it like to be open to that? In this course that I'm offering, it's a very simple phrase that we use. Let me just share that with you. It goes like this. Dear deeper mind, reveal to me what needs my attention, in the order in which it needs my attention. And from that moment onwards, once you've said that, either once or thrice, up to you, But once you've said that, then you trust that anything that's coming up, there's nothing random. It could be an itch in your back. It could be an itch on your back. It could be a memory. It could be a scratchiness in your throat. It could be a heaviness on your heart. It could be a warmth of your left hand. It could be a fidgetiness. It all has meaning. So again, back to big data, right? Everything has meaning. It's just that we may not have noticed it yet. And it's not that we have to think our way through this. It's just about being receptive that, oh, something needs attention. Some part of me needs attention. And I'm just giving myself that gentle attention. I'm not even trying to heal myself. I'm just allowing myself to feel into this moment in a more expansive way, like we've talked about, being more expansive, being more spacious. So yeah, these are some of my reflections, listening to Kate and Infinite, and yeah, loving this different way of connecting and sharing. When I was learning facilitation, my mother, who also has been a facilitator in the past, she's led many groups, and one tool they'd use, I'm sure you're familiar with it, is the Native American talking stick. The one who has the stick can speak, everybody else listens. So I get that feeling with this kind of a format, where it's like I have a talking stick and I can speak for as long, and then at some point I hand over the stick and whoever wants to go next can go. Thank you.
Dear deeper mind, reveal to me what needs my attention in the order in which it needs my attention. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Kate. Kate, you're so articulate. It was so meaningful to listen to you and the way you weave your words. And I felt I had to go and look at the book you recommended. I think The Wild Side of Sorrow, Grief. That's a remarkable book. I'm going to be having a look at that more deeply. And also the blog you wrote, I found that very moving. So it's so rich, this exploration of, it began with the pain, and then the pain body, and then the big data. And I wanted to throw into this conversation something quite amazing and maybe mystical as well. It's a phenomena known as the rainbow body phenomena. I don't know if you've heard of this. I was recently in Kashmir in the north of India, and also went to Leh Ladakh. And this is a place where for centuries, because it was actually on the Silk Route, this is a place where the East connected to the West. And it has been like the crown jewel of India. It's an incredibly beautiful place. And it's a place where all these different cultures and religions have for thousands of years coexisted. So we have Sikhism, we have Hinduism, we have Tibetan Buddhism, we have Christianity. Believe it or not, they really believe Jesus Christ had actually come to Kashmir, and that's where he learned during the missing years of his life. And they call him Isa. Jesus Christ is called Isa here. And we went to the valley where he was supposed to have studied with his teacher, Chetan. And fascinating. So anyway, so I was there, and this whole topic of the light body came up quite a bit, because Jesus is supposed to have resurrected into a light body. And then we had Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, who was attacked by a robber. This dacoit rolled down a huge boulder towards him. And Guru Nanak kept sitting there, and the boulder, like plasticine, you can push your fist or your fingers into it. There's an outline of his body in that entire boulder. You can still see it. It's fascinating. Maybe I'll find a picture to share here. And also the Tibetan monasteries, where it is well documented of these monks and other practitioners, when they die, they sometimes ask for their body not to be touched for 7 days. And the body shrinks in size to that of sometimes to a child, and sometimes it disappears altogether. And all you have is rainbows in the sky, showing that you can actually, we say all matter is energy, but this is an actual case of matter transmuting back into energy, cells getting back to their original nature, source energy. So anyway, this is a whole different topic, but I'm just fascinated by this. And it's something I've known about for many years, but just being there in Tibet, but close to Tibet, Leh is very similar to Tibet in this landscape. Being in Leh Ladakh and being in Kashmir and getting a taste of saints like Lal Ded, one of the greatest mystics from the 12th, 13th century, and Guru Nanak, and Jesus Christ and his time there, and Kashmir Shaivism, very joyful, maybe might be one of the most profound and joyful traditions in the world that I'm aware of. Very affirmative of life and not denying of life. And this whole rainbow body phenomena, which just completely blows the mind. And it's not just happened once or twice. There are, in the Tibetan sources, 160,000 cases of the rainbow body, of which even recently, a few years back, there have been documented cases of this happening. So for me, this is just showing us life is so mysterious, and there is so much more here than we could ever have imagined. And the opportunity for us to approach everything with wonder and with new eyes. And I love that quote. In fact, I posted on my Instagram, the one where, I'm forgetting his name, the one who says that, the best way to live, you can tell when people are dying that ultimately two things matter. It's how you have been loved, and have you loved well? Have you been loved well, and have you yourself loved well? And that's exactly what the essence of the rainbow body is exactly that how do you attain a rainbow body? You have nothing but loving thoughts for 13 to 60 years. That's the practice, which is an incredibly high ask, but it just shows us what amazing potentials are here. So ending with loving thoughts for all of you.
Oh, with love, I say to you, thank you for this journey. The way we have unfolded here, you're right. It would remind anybody listening of just how expansive we all are. And when we're together and we're tasting this all together, it just feels like an endless banquet of possibility, of deliciousness for our soul. I feel so nourished. I know these words have been echoing throughout this conversation. We've been using words that are very body-like, and then you bring out the rainbow body and it's all coming together. I have a wish, and I'm going to express it here in front of everybody because that's how I roll. I would love to hear your thoughts as you move through your life on your own Swellcast. It would be so great to just connect with you whenever you can by hearing you swell on Swell. So I invite you to be here with us and journey with us and fall with us and rise with us and laugh with us. And every Swellcaster is a Swellcaster. In other words, there's no hierarchy here. It's so beautiful. It's a big circle. And I invite you to stay. I invite you to be here. And I know we asked you here and you are an honored guest. And now I'm asking you to please stay. Please don't go, because it's been so great to have your voice in our chorus. It's just beautiful. And I want to also end this with a prayer for everybody to trust love, and to trust love as the driver of all things, because it's just so much easier to live that way. It's so much easier, and you bring it out so beautifully in everything you say. So that's a message for all of us to take away, and I wish it for all of us to infuse our work and our play with love. And happy weekend.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Kate. Yes, it's been a lovely sharing, and I'll be happy to continue to explore the Swell platform. I think it's really swell. I'm sure that's a joke that's been cracked already. And I want to get a little more familiar with it. And I've actually talking about the rainbow body, I've created a collective of people who are interested to study this phenomenon. And maybe I can see if I can move some of those conversations here. And so let me experiment. So thank you for having me here. And thank you to everyone who has also contributed. And yes, we can continue to be in touch in the various different ways that Deborah and Kate have suggested. Lots of love and be well.
Thank you, Kate, for inviting me to this Swellcast. I must say, Nithya, Shanti, rather informative and thought-provoking. I just have one question. Does Nithya Shanti get angry ever?